Hey boys and girls, welcome back. It's me, Keith, the Misprint Guy, and welcome to week 38, in which I share with you all kinds of strange and unusual cards from a game called Magic the Gathering. Misprints, test prints, if there's something downright weird with it, I want to share it with you. So now, what do I have for you this week? Well, this is something that I probably should have done a long time ago, but due to the emails that I get and when people approach me with a lot of questions, these are the types of cards that I hear about a lot. Now, what I want to cover are cards that have mistakes on them that were never corrected. And what I mean by never is that particular set. You might have a card that was printed in M10 and everything was fine, and then they reprint it in M11 and then there's a huge mistake on it, and then maybe they reprint it again in M12 and everything's fine again. Now, there are cards that have a lot of weird problems, and of course the overwhelming majority of them are older. But there are so many cards that have so many issues. I mean, I could go on forever. But what I want to do is cover a wide variety of mistakes on cards that were never corrected. And for the sake of not making this an incredibly long video, I'm going to stick to cards that are English. So I have some scans of some cards that have some great mistakes. So let me explain. All right. All right. First of all, the most popular card that has a mistake that, I mean, anybody can pretty well catch and is very confusing is a card from Revised, and it's called Serende Befried. Now, if you look at that Serende Befried, it's a green card that's blue, or it's a blue card that's green, depending on how you want to look at it. Well, the thing is, it's pretty much a hybrid of two cards, and these two cards are also from, well, they're from the same set in which the Serende Befried originated. So we have this If Bif Befried and Serende Befried kind of combined there to make one screwed up card. And then this card, at least in English, was never reprinted, but all cards from Revised are, they have this issue. And then another one that most people don't catch right away because they just look at it and think maybe it's a beta card, but the truth is we have this old card and it's from Antiquities. Now, Antiquities is supposed to have an anvil symbol on there, and all Antiquities cards do, except for one, and that is Reconstruction. And again, it should have that anvil, but it does not, and all versions of this card have that issue. It did get reprinted later in Revised, which does not have a symbol anyway, but I mean, all Antiquities copies have this issue. And then here's another one that's just kind of minor, it's kind of weird and confusing, but this is a card from Legends, and it's called Imprison. And if you look, that there's supposed to be that circle around the number, so it looks like a regular casting cost type thing, and it is shifted upwards. So, you got that thing off by about 1/4 of an inch. And again, all versions are like that. And then one of the other most infamous ones, because as far as I can remember, this is the only card that has this issue. It just flat out does not have a casting cost. And then I have Cyclopean Tomb, and it was later reprinted in beta and unlimited only, and those two have its casting cost, but not alpha. And then another, well, I mean, alpha just has so many here. Another weird one is Orcish Oriflame. Now, the weird thing about it is they just decided, oh wait, that's a mistake, that costs too little. And then when they reprinted it in beta, I mean, just a couple months later, they printed it in beta, and they were like, no, it costs a little bit more than that. And then Elvish Archers, this is another mistake that they could have just left well enough alone, but it was printed as a 1/2. It has a power of 1 and a toughness of 2 in alpha, and then it quickly got reprinted in beta, unlimited, and so on, and it's a 2/1. So, I mean, you could pretty well argue that makes it a better creature, but yeah, the original alpha version is a 1/2. And then, this one's kind of weird and confusing because of modern day rules, but back in the day, you had interrupts. And interrupts, long story short, were types of cards that were played in reaction to another spell. But anyhow, a red elemental blast, according to old school rules, is a interrupt, but they print it as an instant. So then when they printed it in beta, they corrected it and made it an interrupt. But again, by modern day rules, it's an instant again. And here's another one. This is kind of confusing, and I use this card in a deck of mine, and I always have to elaborate, but it's called Impulse, and with it you pretty much draw those 4 cards, pick one, put one in your hand, and then put the other 3 on the bottom. And then it says, shuffle your library. So you're supposed to put some cards on the bottom and then shuffle. And they were like, oops. So all versions of the original version of that card have this mistake, but then they later reprinted it, made it a foil, all that good stuff, and they were like, yeah, we just took that last sentence off of there. And then, yeah, okay, so obviously, I've been mostly covering older cards, but here's a brand new one for you, and this is from M13, and as of right now, M13 is still being printed, but something tells me they're probably not going to be correcting this card, and it is called Wit's End. It is a black rare there, and, well, the word pathetic is misspelled. I mean, you would think that something that you could not catch by a simple spell check would be a mistake, but it's the word pathetic, and it's wrong. So we shall see in the near future whether or not they correct it, but I'm willing to bet they probably will not. And finally, one of the cards that I see pretty often is this card here called Extinguish, and the mana symbol is just the regular teardrop there for a blue card, but it does not have the circle that would go behind it. So all versions of these cards that I have mentioned, at least in their appropriate set, have these mistakes. So now here's the thing. Obviously there are plenty more, and yes, I did not cover them. If you want, feel free. You know, for the sake of other people and making this not a 30-minute long video, why don't you leave some comments and say, yeah, well, you forgot this card, you forgot that card, there's this one, there's that one. And of course, at some point, I will probably be doing foreign cards, but that's much more difficult. And a lot of the mistakes that they've made are not obvious, because if you can't read the text box, it's that kind of makes it so that you can't really catch all the mistakes now, right? But anyhow, that is the English versions of some of these cards that have mistakes, so I thought that I needed to cover that. And as always, have more to come. But questions, comments, concerns, you feel free to get a hold of me. Otherwise, I will see you soon, so take care.